Tonight on Stateline, the passive smoking police at a cafe near you.
Passive smoking is a real substantial risk to health.
For years, Western Australia has led the country in the fight against tobacco addiction, with the lowest rate of smoking among both adults and children. But campaigners say WA is now falling behind other states that have brought in tougher laws to protect against second-hand smoke. They're urging state MPs to pass a bill that would not only address the shortfall, but give WA the strongest smoking laws in Australia. The architect of the bill is nurse-turned-politician Janet Woolard, who's taken on the hospitality industry with her crusade to stamp out smoking in many of the few places where it's still allowed. Claire Moody reports.
They may look inconspicuous, but these two young women are actually undercover researchers and could be operating at a cafe near you. Unbeknown to nearby smokers, this device is a passive smoking detector.
It measures air particles of the size that tobacco smoke is made up of. So we're able to get quite a good measure of how much tobacco smoke is in the air.
And according to the researchers, the reading isn't favourable.
What we found is that passive smoking is a real substantial risk to health. It's a risk to health even if there are only one or two smokers around you in somewhere like a coffee shop or a restaurant.
So the breathlessness that then you're describing, that's...
It's a theory that independent MP Janet Woolard is using to back her push for tougher smoking laws. This is the politician's other job. A nurse by trade, she regularly keeps her hand in at her husband's cardiology clinic.
I can remember when I was a student nurse on the coronary care ward when a young woman came in. She was in her early 30s. She had 2 children. She was a smoker and she died from a heart attack. You know, her early 30s, those children were left without their mother.
She says it's this nursing background that's driving her fight for the strongest tobacco control laws in Australia. If passed, her private member's bill would ban the display of tobacco products and outlaw smoking in cars with children, in safe swimming areas, near children in playgrounds or sports grounds, and in all outdoor eating areas. The member for Alfred Cove has already got many in her electorate on side. This local cafe prides itself on being a smoke-free zone. Even the local supermarket has taken a stand, resisting the financial benefits of a strategically placed cigarette display at the checkout.
There certainly is an impulse component to the selling of cigarettes, and certainly we've removed that impulse, and we certainly hope that we're setting a pretty good example for the local kids in the community.
But while most of the recommendations have support, the proposed ban on smoking in outdoor dining areas is proving the biggest hurdle. This tavern in Balcatta is predicting a big drop in business because about a third of its regulars are smokers.
The smokers are not going to want to come out to a hotel or to a licensed venue, that they have to go outside onto the footpath in the elements to be able to smoke.
Industry-wide, about $20 million has been spent on renovations to accommodate smokers outside since indoor bans were introduced in 2006. Now this tavern has joined a campaign that says the new ban would be going too far too soon.
We should be able to provide something for them to be able to comfortably enjoy what they do.
Half a dozen West Australian councils have already taken the matter into their own hands, making their alfresco areas smoke-free. But the Hotels Association is doubting the evidence behind the bans and the statewide equivalent.
Not one public health group has knocked on the door of the AHA and said, here is the data or the evidence that there's some connection here of a problem with people standing in a beer garden, and this is what happens with the smoke. We haven't seen it yet.
They're tobacco supporters. You know, why would you go and spend time working with people who appear to be there to encourage people to continue to smoke and take up smoking?
The people who are trying to stop us from playing an active part in this debate believe that by smearing us, by trying to connect us with the tobacco industry, that somehow will stop us protecting our members' interests.
With studies showing about 500 children a year are admitted to WA hospitals suffering from the effects of passive smoke, there's not likely to be too much opposition to most of the committee's recommendations when MPs vote on the bill in the coming weeks.
We know already that there is no safe level of exposure.
Anti-smoking campaigners are already planning their next stage in the fight.
If you smoke around your kids, they smoke too.
A plea for an increase in the funds allocated towards education. They want a far bigger chunk of the estimated $5.5 billion raised by tobacco tax each year directed to awareness campaigns.
Only the other day, I was walking down Rockaby Road and I saw a caring parent carefully put his child into the back seat of a car, strapping the belt around the child, and that parent was puffing away into the child's face.
Hi, how are you going? Can I have a skinny decaf latte?
Meanwhile, they're pinning their hopes on the tenacious Dr. Woolard.
What I think she's done is to use the power of her current position really well, very astutely.
This is not about public health. This is about the wacky science of research, trying to then institute it as law because they happen to have influence in the Parliament now.
Look, then, straight ahead. No cheating.
Janet Woolard estimates that over 400 people have died in WA from tobacco-related illnesses since the bill was introduced just 18 weeks ago. Whatever the outcome of the legislation, this is certainly not the end of the battle for this determined optimist.
I would hope that within my lifetime we might see the end of tobacco use, but I am hoping to live to a very long age.
Claire Moody reporting.